Hi, welcome to Painted Forest Art. Today's piece is going to be this design, and it's going to be painted on this reddish orange glass, which I really like. It's very vibrant. And that design is kind of an extension of a previous project that I did that was based on an Art Nouveau doorway that's in France. And I'll link to that video in the description below so you can check it out. But today, since I already talked about that doorway specifically, today I'll talk more about the Art Nouveau movement itself and kind of where it came from and where it ended up. So I'm just doing the geometric work on the windows. It's a little bit boring to watch and slow, so I'll fast forward through most of this. As I said, today's hint of history is about the Art Nouveau movement. I've talked a little about it before and given some basic information, but it's one of my favorite styles, so I figured I'd go a little more in depth, especially about why it happened as a movement. Art Nouveau was a style used by some artists, mostly in Europe and the United States, between about 1890 to 1910, so it was a very short-lived movement. While the artists that brought about this movement, and there are quite a few of them, so I'll probably make other videos with details about them, these artists were trying to create something different because much of the 1800s had been trying to copy historical designs. While they didn't begin this movement out of nothing, there were some precursors and inspirations, but they were trying to do something unusual. I kind of like the part up here with the squiggles, but I don't necessarily like this. I want there to be more something down here. And less dog barking. Less dog barking would be good. Anyway, so I know. People walking by, how dare they do that? Okay, I think I'm going to erase this part and do something with maybe it coming up through here. I don't know, we'll see. What would look good down here? Okay, I think I figured out the way I like this. I filled in this area a little bit more, added a little bit more interest. So there's a little bit more going on. So now I'm just going to outline it in pen so that it's easier to see. There is just something so satisfying about inking in a pencil drawing. The main inspirations for Art Nouveau were the arts and crafts movement, ukiyo-e Japanese prints, and aestheticism. Arts and crafts was a concurrent movement that emphasized craftsmanship and beauty, even in functional objects. Ukiyo-e was a Japanese printing and painting style in the 1800s that often portrayed very personal or everyday moments in a beautiful way, with color and flowing, sinuous lines. And aestheticism is sort of a philosophy, almost more than an art. It's from the late 1800s and was known as art for art's sake, that art doesn't need a purpose except to be beautiful. So Art Nouveau combined these influences into a single style characterized by strong, curving lines that look like they're moving, combined often with bold colors. Many of the designs are completely abstract, like my piece, where it doesn't represent a real object, but more is a combination of shape and line and color. But even if there are recognizable objects in Art Nouveau, often flowers, vines, or beautiful women, they were depicted with lines and colors, and not usually in a photorealistic way. This is part of why I enjoy this style so much. The enamel paints I use are very fast drying, so I can't push paint around for hours like a traditional oil paint. The strong lines are much easier to do than subtle shading of more representational art, plus it needs to look good with light shining from behind it, which you wouldn't be able to see with a lot of detailed painting. Now I'm starting to do the backside of this orangey glass, I'm gonna try to do these little ovals in the Sharpie paint pen, but I gotta say I don't usually have much luck with them, but give it a shot. Thankfully, these Uniposca ones tend to work a little bit better for me. And this swirly design that I'm doing in white here is actually not an Art Nouveau one, but it's actually a Latin Iron Age design that I had found on something, and I really liked and have modified to my own purposes. The squiggly design is actually on the back, so it's going to be shadowed when light comes from behind the glass, and then when it's more in front you'll be able to see that it's white reflecting through the orange. At least that's the idea. The rather annoying thing about stained glass is that the back of it tends to have a texture. And I don't even know if you can see some of these tiny little, there's little fragments of the paint that I got in it, and they are stuck in the texture of the back of the glass. Hopefully it won't be too noticeable. Alright, so now I'm done with the white. I'll do a second coat on these thicker areas just so they're totally opaque, but should be good. This layer is going to be reverse painted, so I have to do the front stuff first, the stuff that you'll see as the front, before I paint on the stuff that's going to be further back. Now I'm just painting the red sort of wall part, I guess, as if these were windows. And that should be the last thing to do besides doing a second coat on some of the pieces, parts. At this point it looks very McDonald's colors with the bright red and the goldeny yellow, but hopefully with the orange stained glass it won't look quite so bad.
This is one of my guinea pigs.
So we have a guinea pig interlude.
Yes we do. This is my guinea pig. Hi! He says hi.
This is Speckles the guinea pig.
Yes.
Hi, Speckles.
Everyone needs a ball of cuteness every once in a while.
True. So, looking at this red in front of the orange glass, I decided that it was just not quite contrasting enough. It's kind of an orangey red a little bit, and against the orange it just doesn't look as good. And of course I don't want to have to entirely repaint the whole thing. So I am going to, I did a second coat of the red so it'll show through really evenly, but I am going to paint this blue on the back, and it'll shine through and make this red a little bit darker and a little bit more blue and more opaque, so that hopefully it will contrast a bit better with the orange glass. So I've kind of run out of time to talk about Art Nouveau, so I'll make a separate video about what happened later in the movement and its revival in the 1960s. But hopefully you enjoyed the little bit of information about where it began. So the blue is done, at least one coat. I might need another coat. but that definitely makes it more opaque. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking around and seeing how this piece turned out. This one is a little unusual because it didn't really quite end up the way that I thought it would. It's a little more subtle than usual, I think, because the paint that I chose with the orange glass isn't as contrasting as I usually do, except in certain lights, and of course I'll show pictures at the end so you can see what I'm talking about. But it just didn't end up the way that I thought it would, but I like the end result. As usual, in the comments below, please let me know what you do with your creativity. I'd love to hear about what you make and design. And I will see you next time. Bye!